Hi, everyone, and welcome to another live episode of the Ethicast, coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia at the 16th Annual Global Ethics Summit. We have a fantastic and kind of unplanned episode for you because something really terrific just happened, and we had to get Erica on to talk about it. So, Erica, you just came off the main stage from a terrific conversation you had. I've been calling it a conversation 20 years in the making, but an interview with somebody who is kind of a champion to you, a real guiding light to, and not just to you, to many people in this discipline, Larry Thompson. So can you talk a little bit about how that conversation went? Was it everything you hoped it would be? Parentheses, I know it was. Yeah. And perhaps a little bit more about his memoir, Quiet Counsel.
Yeah. Bill, I've been saying to everybody since I came off the stage, sometimes you should meet your heroes. And exactly. This was definitely one of those moments for me. And I know not just for me, because I've had so many conversations with people who were listening into that session, either on the platform or who came up to me here in person, who said something along the lines of, "Oh my God, Larry Thompson, like I quoted his memo all the time in my work." Sure. For the Thompson memorandum that he drafted while he was at the DOJ, I had one person who was fortunate enough to have worked for him at Pepsi tell me just how much his leadership and his mentoring and his example meant to her. Yeah. I had a person come up to me who had him as one of her directors for a little while in the role that she had served in. And so I know that I'm not the only one who had that experience during the course of the conversation. But yeah, it was... I could have talked to him all day. He's definitely one of those people who has not only led an exceptionally interesting life, he has clearly reflected on his experiences and is interested in learning lessons, sharing lessons, and trying to allow people to stand on his shoulders. Yeah. And so it was really something.
Yeah. Let me take a step back for a second. When we're at the Global Ethics Summit, there's a temptation to think, everybody here has been in the business for a long time. Mm-hmm. They have deep experience and all that. But there are people who are at GES now, live, and also attending virtually, who are perhaps new to the discipline and may not really even know who Larry Thompson is. So, his credentials speak for themselves. Okay. But if you could run through them very quickly, but then also I want you to give a thought to what would our discipline look like if Larry Thompson had never been in it?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a really, really good point, Bill, and you're right. There have been a couple of jokes that have already been told over the course of the last half a day about people who feel like they've been in the space for a long time, and then Larry's like, children. You know not of what you speak. You haven't been doing anything for a long time. Yeah. I have been doing things for a long time. But yeah, Larry was there in DC, when the Defense Industry Initiative was getting its start after the Golden Hammer scandal. And then, of course, he was Deputy Attorney General and wrote the Thompson Memo, which is one of those kind of seminal prosecutorial guidance pieces that underpin what an effective compliance program looks like. Sure. Right. So, the sort of triumvirate for us here in the U.S. of the organizational sentencing guidelines, the prosecutorial guidance, and then what we can learn from different prosecution agreements and non-prosecution agreements. Larry is kind of the one of the cornerstones, along with Paul McNulty and a couple of others, who really made that regulatory landscape what it was. Mm-hmm. So tremendously important and influential person in the space. And if you, even if you don't know that you're quoting the Thompson Memo or using the Thompson Memo, right, if you are using the Evaluation of Corporate Compliance Programs guidance, or you're using any of those pieces, you are using Larry's work.
Yeah. No, it's always interesting when you're in a place and you can see where a luminary enters a field at just the right time for their work to make maximum impact and to really become foundational and kind of, we all can run because he kind of showed us the way. Yeah. And which is really, really quite astonishing.
Yeah. And, and then of course he went from DOJ to have a very long tenure as the general counsel at Pepsi. Yep. And then he's done some great monitorship work for organizations like Volkswagen and others. So he has seen a lot of organizations through a lot of different parts of their journey. And the thing I particularly appreciated about both the conversation that we had on the stage, which for those of you who missed it, because it's Sunday, is recorded. So, when you log in tomorrow, you'll be able to take a look at that during one of the breaks, or after the summit is over, you'll be able to take the content in. But it was one of those, he talked a lot about long-termism
Sure.
And how dangerous a short-term perspective can be, both to an organization's reputation, because it causes you to make decisions just for the next 90 days and not think at all about the 90 days beyond that.
Yeah.
And so he talked a lot about that piece of things as something that our function needs to use their earned seat at the table to talk about.
Yeah.
And so we had a conversation about kind of, okay, now you have the seat at the table where the discipline's been around for long enough that we're kind of at that point. And then the next question becomes, okay, well, what do I use my seat for? Right?
Sure,
How do I use my seat for good?
Yeah, exactly. So if I can ask you kind of a sideways question a little bit that dips into the world's most ethical companies.
Sure.
I know we don't like to have favorite children, but inevitably, when you mention Pepsi, it comes to mind because they're one of the very few companies that have earned honors. Every year there have been honors to earn as far as the world's most ethical companies go.
Yep.
My question to you is, when you look at their program, which has been so strong for so long, it has such sustained effort, where do you, and you're so very close to the whole process, where do you most noticeably see Larry's work persisting still in Pepsi's program?
It really is in the fact that they very closely tied their unique Pepsi values to their performance systems. And so, the Pepsi recognition, the Pepsi program, the Pepsi approach has endured changes in CEOs, changes in directors, changes in general counsels, changes in chief compliance officers, right? There's been change kind of across the board in that regard. And so if you think about what Larry has been able to accomplish, or what Pepsi's been able to accomplish rather, you can see the fingerprints that Larry and Indra Nooyi and others left on the program with this idea that we have tied our decision making to our values as an organization, right?
Yeah.
What is it we're here to do in the first place? And those are the kinds of things that allow for that sustained legacy of success.
Yeah. Now, he was also talking about his memoir, Quiet Counsel, and I could not help but notice you have a copy of it.
I do.
And I'm here to say to everybody, everybody else out there, you can't have this one because this one is signed specifically for Erica. But we do have a couple more copies on hand.
Yep.
Right?
Larry signed a few. Yep.
So we definitely want to encourage everybody who's attending the conference live and virtually. I think we're looking at maybe making some of those copies available as prizes for those who excel at the gamified aspects of our event. So by all means, if you've been needing that incentive to get involved in the chat, to talk about things, to act, to react,
we'll take the polls, answer the questions. Yeah,
exactly. There could be a very lovely reward awaiting you at the end of all that. So we encourage you very much. If you like free books, and I know you do, because everybody in this event likes free books, I would encourage you to really get involved.
Yeah. So we're going to do the top two gamification, top two people on the leaderboard at the end of the summit on the online side. So the virtual first side will get this added to their other swag they were already getting, which are some lovely Ethisphere prizes.
Yep.
And then we'll do one for the in-person crew. So if you're online, you're on the online platform and you're already kind of creeping your way up the leaderboard, keep at it. And if you're not there already, get on it. And then we'll do the same thing for one of the in-person guests.
Yes. And since I'm all about gamification, I'm just going to put on my game player hat for a second.
Yeah.
People, if you are doing well on Sunday, this is your time to build up a lead, okay? Because Monday is wall to wall. It's going to be crazy busy. Your competition shows up on Monday, okay? So get that lead built up today while you have a chance. That's all I'm going to say. I've seen it happen too many times for this to not be true.
Yeah. I'm a big Duolingo user, and so it's like when I have the time to sit down and do like a concentrated chunk of lessons, I try to rack up as many points as I can because I know like that's my one window to build my lead in whatever division I'm competing in. So same thing here. You're online on Sunday. You're listening to Bill and I.
Yes.
Get on this.
Now, why is Quiet Counsel such a great book and something that's so worth picking up? Like, you've been talking about this for a while, actually before GES. And I know it's on my to read list as well.
It's also Ethisphere's next book club book.
Next book club book, exactly.
So,
can you talk about some insights from Quiet Counsel that really made a difference to you and really impacted you, given how closely you followed his career, knowing the kind of conversation we're going to have with him here, given the unique state of the world we're in, where so much of what he's done, there appear to be forces trying to undo it, to be not too indelicate about it. But what are some pieces from that book that you took away that really kind of impact you now and live in your head rent free?
So I think the thematically, the thing, Bill, that I appreciated so much about this book is we see in this book someone who is willing to reflect on not just the things that went well in his long and storied career, but also the things that didn't, right? This is not a memoir of someone who is like, let me catalog all of my successes for you and put them in a book. This is a book that is written by someone who is very willing to reflect on his long career, the lessons he learned over the course of his career, and how they might help somebody else that is struggling at that moment in time. And he did the same thing on the stage. And so I think for me, the reason that I'm excited not only to make it available to some of our very engaged members on the platform, but also to talk about it with my colleagues here at Ethisphere is Larry makes the case, and he makes it extraordinarily well in the book, that tying your decision-making process to a set of specific values that is going to guide you through turbulent waters. And it's something, Bill, you and I talk about all the time on the Ethicast. This idea that you need to understand why you're doing the work you're doing, why your company exists in the first place, why you're in the field you're in, whatever your thing is that you are being challenged by right now. Thinking about what the why is behind all of that, and using that as your guiding principle. That's what the whole book is kind of organized around, and being willing to look yourself frankly in the eye when you've missed the mark at some point, and learn from it. And so I'm a big fan of memoirs in general, but I'm particularly a big fan of the ones that don't try to pretend never to have struggled, never to have faced challenge, right? Larry, in this book, he really embraces his narrative arc and the ebbs and flows of a very long and storied career. So outstanding. I can't recommend it highly enough.
Outstanding. Well, Erica, thank you so very much for joining us on the Ethicast again, and for talking about this fantastic conversation you had with Larry. I know you were really looking forward to it.
Really looking forward to it.
I can say within Ethisphere, we were excited for you. You were so fired up over this. We're like, she's going to have the best conversation on stage, and it's also going to be just a terrific piece of GES. So we're so glad you're able to make it happen. So glad that Larry had a great conversation partner in you. And thank you very, very much for coming on the show to talk about that and talk about Quiet Counsel.
Absolutely. Well, Bill, that is the lovely thing about being live here together at GES, is when you have a quiet moment in time, I can pop in and give you my thoughts on what's happening on main stage. So for all of you out there listening, I hope you are enjoying Bill's birdside seat from the lounge here at Live GES. And I look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Indeed. Thank you so very much. Everyone, thank you again for watching the Ethicast here live at GES. We'll be back. Stay tuned.